Hello! Today we're going to talk about multiplying decimals. Now when we're thinking about multiplication, I want you guys to think about finding an area. So here I'm going to write a note about that. Multiplication is like finding area. So, for example, if we drew a rectangle and that rectangle was 3 squares tall and it was 3 squares wide, 3 by 3 rectangle, then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. And that is exactly the same as doing 3 times 3 equals 9. So remember that we're trying to use different symbols for multiplication, like this asterisk right here. So when you see 3 star 3, that means 3 times 3 equals 9. So now let's go ahead and actually think about how this would work with decimals. So here we've got our square for decimals, and I've divided it into 10 columns. So each one of these columns is going to be 1/10 of the square, and since I've got 1, 2, 3 columns filled in, that's going to be 3/10, which looks like 0.3 when we write it as a decimal. And then we also want to look at this square right here, and this is going to be 2 rows filled in, and each one of these rows is 1/10 of the entire square. So this is going to be 2/10, which looks like this as a decimal. Now, when we go to multiply these two together, we're going to think about making a rectangle that is this wide, 0.3 wide, and this tall, 0.2 tall. So let's go ahead and draw what that would look like in our new box. So in this new box right here, I'm going to start with drawing my 3 squares wide rectangle. And then I'm going to also draw my 2 squares tall rectangle, 2 rows tall rectangle. So now you can see that where these two overlap, we have a box that is 0.3 wide and 0.2 tall. So if we were to do this multiplication, 0.2 times 0.3, we end up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little squares. And each one of these squares, remember, is 1/100th of the whole box. So we're going to put a 0 in the tenths place and a 6 in the hundredths place. So now we can see that when we multiply 2/10 times 3/10, we get 6/100ths. So let's go ahead and write some notes about this that will help us to be able to do all different kinds of problems multiplying decimals. Basically, we're going to write out the steps that we have to do every time we multiply decimals. So, our first step is going to be to multiply the digits just as in whole number multiplication. So you can see when we did this multiplication right here that 2 times 3 gives us 6. So we've multiplied our digits just like we would in normal multiplication. Then our second step is going to be count the total digits to the right of the decimal points in the problem. So when we do that right here, we're going to see that we've got 1 decimal point to the right and 1 decimal point to the right, 1 digit after each of these decimal points. So we're going to then place our decimal point that many digits from the right in our answer. So right here we have 1 digit after the decimal point, 2 digits after the decimal point. So in our final answer we need to have 1, 2 digits after the decimal point. So that might still seem a little bit abstract. So let's go ahead and do a couple more examples and see if we can start to get the hang of this. So let's start with 2.1 times 3.6. So our first step is to multiply the digits just like we did in whole number multiplication. So in order to do the multiplication, just like in whole number multiplication, we're going to line up our two numbers right on top of each other. And we'll do 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. And then we'll fill in our 0 for the next row. We've got 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 2 is 6. So now we're going to add these two together. Again, just like multiplication, we've got to add each of our answers together. We get 5, 7. Okay, so now the tricky part is we have to count how many digits, how many total digits are after the decimal point in the question. So right here we've got 1, 2 digits after the decimal point in the question. So we're going to need to have 1, 2 digits after the decimal point in our answer. So we'll put the decimal point right here to make sure that we end up with 1, 2 digits after our decimal point in our final answer. So our final answer here is going to be 7 56/100ths. Now let's go ahead and do a practice problem. So I want you guys to pause this video and try this problem on your own. Remember that two parentheses set right next to each other mean multiply, just the same as an asterisk between the numbers does. Okay, so step number 1, we want to set this up to multiply just like in normal whole number multiplication. So we go to do this multiplication. We will have 2 times 7 is 14, carry the 1, and 7 times 4 is 28, plus 1 is 29. Fill in our 0 in the next row. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 4 is 4. Now we will add these two numbers together. We will get 4, 1, carry the 1. Okay, and then we have 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. Now, our second step is to count how many digits we have after the decimal point in the question. So here we have 1, 2 digits after the decimal point. So in our answer, we're going to want to have 2 digits after the decimal point. So we'll say 1, 2 digits to go after the decimal point. So the decimal point will go right here. And then we've got 1, 2 digits after the decimal point. And our final answer will be 7.14. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Let's go ahead and do another example that's a little bit more challenging. Got more digits in this problem. So we're going to do 17.06 times 72.803. Okay, now when we go to do this multiplication, I'm going to try to write small so I have plenty of space. So it doesn't matter as much with multiplication whether or not everything is lined up, but we're still going to start on the right and start multiplying through. So we'll do 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 0 is 0, and then we add the 1. And then 3 times 7 is 21, 1, carry the 2, and 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Okay, and then we've just got a 0 for our next digit, so we can just leave that as a 0 and go on to this one. So 8 times 6 is going to be 48, 8 and carry the 4. So then 8 times 0 is 0, plus 4 gives us a 4. 8 times 7 is 56, 6, and we'll carry the 5. And then 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 is 13. And then for this one, we've got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 before we even get started. 3 placeholder zeros. So 2 times 6 is going to be 12. Carry the 1. And 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is just 1. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. And 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And then we'll go ahead, do our last digit. 1, 2, 3, 4 placeholding zeros. And then 7 times 6 is 42. 2, carry the 4. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 7 times 9 is 49. 9, carry the 4. And 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 gives us 11. Okay, so now I have a lot of numbers to add up. 8 plus all these zeros is just 8. 1 plus all these zeros is just 1. 8, 1 plus 8 will give us 9. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 2 is 11. 1, carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Put a 0 down here, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. And 8 plus 4 is 12. Write down a 2. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 3 is 5. Plus 9 is 14. Okay, then we just have 1 plus 1 will give us a 2. And 1 for our final digit. Okay, so now let's go ahead. For our second step, we want to count how many total digits are after the decimal point. So here we've got 1, 2 decimal points in our question, 2 digits after the decimal point in our question, and then 1, 2, 3 more. So we've got 2 plus 3 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 digits after the decimal point in the question. So we want to make sure that we've got 5 digits after the decimal point in our final answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be where our decimal point goes. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Got 5 digits after the decimal point, and our answer is going to be 1,242 and 1,918. I think that should be 100 thousandths. That is a very small decimal point down here at the end. Okay, so now we are going to have a practice problem for you to try on your own. So please pause the video now and try this problem on your own paper. Okay, so now that you've had a chance to try this problem on your own, I'm going to show you how to do it so you can make sure that you're on the right track. So we'll go ahead and write up this multiplication. 2.07. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do 7 times 5 is 35, carry the 3. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 3 gives us 3. 7 times 2 is 14, carry the 1. And 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22. Okay, then we'll have 0, another 0 placeholder, then we'll have 2 times 5 is 10, it'll give us 0, carry the 1. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 will give us 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so now we're ready to add these two numbers together. And 5 plus 0 is 5, 3 plus 0 is 3, 4 plus 0 is 4, 2 plus 1 is 3, 2 plus 4 is 6, and then we'll put this final 6 over here. Okay, so then our second step is always to count how many digits we have after the decimal point in the original problem. So in the original problem we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the decimal point. So we need 4 digits after the decimal point in our final answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, so our decimal point will go right here. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 digits after the decimal point in our final answer. So our final answer will be 66 and 3,435 10,000ths. So that is all that we have for today's lesson in multiplying decimals. But we do have some more practice if you feel like you would like another chance to try these on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some time to pause the video, and then I will go ahead and write out the solutions to each of these problems.